one would have thought that immediately after the war to end all wars would have ushered in a decade of peace and harmony. Instead, there was a lot of difficulties. The lack of demand for war goods brought about a recession. And the men coming back from the war made a glut of labor. So there was a lot of labor unrest during this period of time. The international workers of the world, the Wobblies, were on the march, and labor disputes and unrest were turning more and more violent, like was seen in the Centralia massacre. The country as a whole was at odds with itself over the issue of women's right to vote, which was finally passed in 1919, as well as the efforts to get rid of alcohol with prohibition, some in favor and many opposed. These difficulties were very much a part of the national conscience. And as a result, cities like Yakima across the nation began to look at who to blame for all of the difficulties. And unfortunately, like so many times in the past, it was easy to point the finger at someone else. That someone else could include Japanese farmers in the lower valley, Filipino farmers, Catholics who some thought were beholden to the Pope instead of to our country. And so began during this period of time in the early 20s the resurrection of the KKK. The original Ku Klux Klan had originated just after the Civil War and through Reconstruction, and by the 1900s had pretty much disappeared. But by 1915, it had made a resurgence.
In the spring of 1923, Valley Klan activity had really grown. There had been meetings down in the lower valley in Wapato and Grandview, getting several hundred people in attendance. And then in the spring, the Capitol Theater here in Yakima, jewel of the city of Yakima, was booked, and a Klan meeting where over 2,000 people attended. And the speakers were speaking of the Klan values, and in the audience were lots of people of interest as well as people curious. Introducing or a part of the welcoming ceremony was the mayor at that time, but who also spoke to the assembled crowd and said that the Klan was not needed in Yakima, that the local law enforcement could do what was necessary. But this great gathering is just to illustrate the growing popularity of that movement. Here I am outside the locked gates of Yakima State Fair Park. These grounds had been contracted, signed, paid for by the Klan to have their rally here. But 1 week before the rally was to take place, the governor of the state of Washington withdrew their request and denied their use of this facility. So with 1 week's time, they had to come up with another plan.
fairgrounds denied them. They found a farmer by the name of Jabe B. Vance who was willing to use his ranch on the lower Atanum. They arranged for special streetcar routes to take individuals along the streetcar line that ran all the way out to Wiley City. They did all of this in less than a week.
Traveling south on 64th Avenue, the route of the trolley line back in the 1920s. To the right, the trolley line would make a big turn here, what is now Atanum, and go all the way out into the West Valley area into Wiley City. But to the left was the road that leads to the Vance farm.
This was designed to be a pageant, a festival, a social gathering. The Valley's residents were invited to bring a picnic lunch in the early afternoon and enjoy the sunshine. There would be bands and music and lots of activities. This was a family affair, and so the thousands came. Yakima had only a population of about 18,000 at the time, but over 40,000 attended this event. We're looking now north towards the farm. As darkness descended that evening, the spectacle just got even larger. The 3 large crosses that blazed through the night, 700 new members initiated, and fireworks that lit up the night sky.
Behind me, more than likely, is the only remaining structure from the Vance farm of the 1920s where this event took place. All that's left, some dilapidated sheds and a barn that's falling down. Local teenagers, not knowing the historical significance of this area, look at its forbidding location and think it's haunted. Well, maybe haunted from memories.